Start the recording. So thank you everyone for joining us for our third session of Firewise 101, both the series and office hours. I'm Jennifer Valadez, and I'm the project manager for Fire Safe Council for Monterey County. Today's session will be focused on the community risk assessment portion of the Firewise USA application. We'll spend about 30 minutes on the main content and then leave the second half open for questions and general discussion. Feel free to drop any questions in the chat. Also, we have Pam Peck, one of our directors for the Fire Safe Council here on the call. It's also a great resource. Okay, just to go over some housekeeping before we dive into the meat of today. We now have the monthly sessions recorded on YouTube, and our website is firesafemonterey.org. Check it out for some resources and upcoming events. Our next event would be the board meeting, and on Zoom we have that posted. And today we have kind of a larger group than our last other two meetings. So if you would like to wait until the end for questions or drop them in the chat, and turn off your camera if you would not like to be recorded. And the post-meeting survey, and right now I'll have a pre-meeting survey. Those are all optional and anonymous, but greatly appreciated. And for the office hours, I would like you all to keep in mind, please raise your hand or use the raise your hand feature to speak or use the chat. And remember to be mindful of everyone's time. If there are more specific community questions, feel free to email us, email me, Pam, or Richard Bates, the regional coordinator for Firewise. I'll have that information at the end as well. So as well, going into our third session, I wanted to reiterate the community roles that we focus on with this program and how we support that as the Fire Safe Council. So really, residents drive the effort, and Fire Safe Council is here to support with tools and resources, this session being one of them. And fire authorities, they can assist, but sometimes, it's not necessarily needed, but it is appreciated when they do help. And it's really a collaborative effort for the common goal of strengthening our wildfire resiliency at the community level. So I kind of wanted to orient ourselves on where we are in this process and into our third session. We are here at the community risk assessment, and there are 6 key steps for the Firewise recognition process. So on our agenda today, we'll be starting with the pre-meeting survey, then going over starting a risk assessment. We'll walk through the template that you'll need to fill out, also troubleshoot some common issues, review some reasons for rejection, and then look at the glossary. There's a lot of words you'll be seeing and terms in the risk assessment that might need some clarification when you're looking at it or doing a survey or walking through your community and not knowing how to identify certain parts of the risk assessment. So right now I'll launch that pre-meeting survey. Again, it's anonymous and completely optional, but greatly appreciated. So I'll launch that and give a few minutes, maybe 2 minutes to answer them. There are only 4 questions. So you'll see those 4 questions pop up right now. Okay, I think we're good. It seems like we have some homeowners, residents, HOA board members, and a lot of people looking where to see they can start on the application. Okay, thank you all for participating. I'll end the poll right now. This will be super useful moving forward and developing these sessions. Okay, so first I wanted to start with the risk assessment itself. So this is right now the fire hazard severity zones that CAL FIRE has put out. And the risk assessment will just evaluate your community strengths and vulnerabilities to wildfire. Generally for the entirety of the community, not just the individual homes, but it does take into account certain percentages of the home that have, a Class A roof, which we'll get into later. And the committee can conduct it by walking through the neighborhood and noting observations. You don't need a specifically certified inspector, but they can be helpful in kind of clarifying what would count and what wouldn't. But it can be completely community driven and can still, the NFPA will still accept that as a way to do the risk assessment. So the NFPA actually has a really good step-by-step assessment tutorial. And all this information will be linked when we post these slides and as well as in the YouTube description. But this one, just to kind of review it when you open this link. Oh, I kind of already started it just to look it out.
Completed this tutorial.
But it will have the objectives and the tutorial really step-by-step on how to do it. But the only negative is that you can't really go back on each one, but it'd be useful when you sit down and write it afterwards. So that will be there. And this is the required NFPA template. So if you don't use this template, your application will be rejected. So it's really encouraged to start here and review this with your committee or the board or individually. So the form asks for site demographics, community info, and key building and landscaping details, such as the roofing material, siding, gutters, and the vegetation zones, such as 0 to 5, 5 to 30 feet, and then 30 to 100 feet. So the risk assessment form, again, will be linked here in the NFPA website, and then you just download it. It's a couple pages long, so I would encourage you to review that. And also within that sheet, you could use a tally sheet here that I've kind of put together for each kind of roofing material. Let me actually open this so we can look at it. So through here, there are percentages that you have to kind of tick. So roofing materials, composite shingles, metal, cement, tile, and clay. So here you're identifying how many of the homes in your community that you would like to get recognized have these materials. So what you could do is print out this tally sheet and go in with your committee and walk through your community and kind of tally how many homes have the Class A roof or have another kind of material like wood, foam roof, etc. And then tally, and then however many are in the tally over or under the total. And then here's a section for some notes as well. So from here, you can get that percentage. Or you can use a survey approach. One of our community members shared their Del Mesa Carmel risk assessment form. And what they did with this one is, asked a series of questions and then sent it out to their community members that they had the emails of. And then when they receive this form, Google does percentages already based on the information provided. or self-reported information. So then they use those percentages to fill out their risk assessment. If it is a larger community, since, walking through every single home, if you have 2,500 homes, might be very tedious. Also on page 11 of the risk assessment is where you see the site map of where you are doing the work. Page 8. So here's where you'll put in your site map. And we also had our last session on that, which is posted on YouTube and linked here for you to view. Button. Oh, I want to start. Also, you would have to do a risk assessment summary. And here is an example of a summary that you could use for your application process. So it's just really just number of dwelling units and number of residents, and just filling in the blanks here based on the percentages that you found from tallying or through the survey or through doing an assessment with a fire agency. But again, that isn't necessarily required, but it could be more informative. But if you're like to move your process forward, you can just do it community-based. I wanted to go over some reasons for rejections. Applications are often rejected for these reasons, such as not using the NFPA template or handwriting it instead of typing it into their PDF that they've provided here. Again, not using the template. And maybe inconsistent numbers between the risk assessment, action plan, and community profile. So keeping the number of dwellings and number of residents consistent across all the documents that you'll need to submit is really key. And summary not being in the preferred format might be a reason, or the map is missing or not attached. So I wanted to go over some key terms that you might be seeing on the risk assessment. So the dwelling unit would be the household/residency built for occupancy by one person, a family, or roommates, including mobile homes and cabins or multifamily residential occupancies. Also, flashing is a term, components used to weatherproof or seal roof system, edges at parameters, penetrations wall, expansion joints, valleys, skirting, material used around the bottom of the home, sometimes decks to protect the underside from exposure to embers, debris accumulation, and other hazards. Also a Class A roof. Roofs assembly provides highest level of fire resistance. Common Class A roof coverings include asphalt, fiberglass, composite shingles, concrete, flat-sized barrel-shaped tiles. Also attachments. So attachments in this context mean structures connected to your home, like decks, porches, and fences. Also hardscaping, so the non-living elements in the landscape, such as rocks, pavements, stone, or gravel used in the landscape design. There are some resources too, so the WUI virtual handbook for property fire risk assessment and mitigation. So they have kind of more detail on what products there are and what the roof systems would look like and things like that, and what you could incorporate in the risk assessment. Also the sample risk assessment from Del Mesa and the risk assessment template included. And we kind of moved through that quickly, so please feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand if you have any questions or you would like for me to go back to any specific points. Again, all of this will be recorded and the description will have the resources and the slides for your viewing afterwards.
Hi, Jennifer, this is Dave Reynolds.
Hi.
That's fine. A question for you. We
Yeah.
became Firewise recognized back in March, and we're a homeowners association at Skyline Crest.
Mm-hmm.
And the sort of the issues I'm having is the fact that many of the basic requirements to, remove the risk, especially in zone zero, are not enforceable yet because the law hasn't actually been enacted, if you will, or the Forest Service or whoever is having to come up with the rules and regs hasn't done it yet. And I guess it's not going to happen until sometime in January, if I understand correctly.
Yes, I
Within
believe
the
that's
city
the
limits of
plan.
Monterey.
Sorry, can you repeat the last part?
Well, I think it's within the city of Monterey in the high fire risk area that we're in. So we've had a couple of home inspections for AB 38, where the home is going to be up for sale, and the fire department has come out and done the inspections. And they passed both of them, even though they have risks within that zone zero area, but they're basically not enforceable right now. So either the homeowner or the new homeowner will not be asked to, correct those issues because they're not enforceable at the moment.
Mhm.
I just wondered how we sort of get around that because we have to. The cost of these things are not cheap. I mean, I've gotten two estimates for removing junipers within the 0 to 5 foot range, and they range from $15,000 to $30,000 for our 48 units that we have here.
Yeah, I see Pam might be able to clarify some of your questions.
Hi, Dave. Thank you for that question. You are not the only one asking. The current suggestions from the Fire Safe Council and from the fire authorities and the recommendations looking towards that January deadline is that it is going to happen. It is going to be what is required, and it will probably be driven in part by the insurance companies. So, although it is not in law, it is in law, it's just not enforced yet. The best thing to do is to act as though it is, because it is going to happen and you will have to meet the requirements. So while you have time and you're not under crunch, I would look at the recommendations that are being made for the 0 to 5 and start to work on it. Jennifer probably will discuss this in another webinar, and that is what can be used and done and what resources there are available to make those corrections, or at least take steps towards making those corrections that are relatively reasonably priced for you. But know that it's going to happen, and the best thing you can do is to be prepared for the time that it does happen.
Okay, because our 3 year plan, because we just got recognized in March, our 3 year plan doesn't start till 2026. So this sort of phases in with our 3 year plan, and I think we have 3 years to actually do this, correct? Even in
That
the
is, yes, that is correct. For existing construction, there is a working period, definitely, and I do believe it is 3 years. For new construction, it is going to be automatic immediately.
correct, yeah. Well, we were built back in 1972, so we're
You're existing.
been here a while. Thank you.
Oh, I see Mary Alice has her hand up as well.
I wanted to ask, I live in a condo community. We're all in attached multi-unit buildings, usually 3 or 4 units in a building. And the association is in charge of virtually all the zones 1 and 2. The zone 0 is the association's responsibility and some individual homeowners. But my question, most of what I've been able to find helping, we applied for the Firewise recognition a year ago and were rejected, and we're working on a second version. If you have any advice for specifically organizations like communities like ours, where the individual homeowner really has little to do with what kind of shingles you have or that sort of thing. There are few few actions that individuals can take, but mostly it's on the association.
Yeah. I think from previous conversations focusing on maybe the education portion of Firewise might be a way to reach out to community members. So in the association, are there written documents that have wildfire prevention measures posted onto them? I'm not too sure
Yes,
how it's structured.
yes, we do, and I tried to emphasize that in our first application and community meetings and having the representatives of the fire district come to our community meetings and make presentations and that sort of thing. Seemed to get us nowhere.
I see.
So- Jennifer, let's determine, hi, Mary Alice, which group is it that you're with? Which Firewise community that you're in?
Cypress.
Cypress.
Well, we're the Riverwood
Okay.
Riverwood community organization.
Okay. Jennifer, I think this discussion for their group could maybe get us an invite to that community and see how we can work with the neighbors on understanding what they can do as a homeowners association. They're not the only one who are a condominium. We have one in Pacific Grove area that's quite active and doing quite well under similar circumstances. So I think having a meeting with you would be an excellent thing if we can do that and see if we can help you move forward.
Okay, so should I just contact you or what?
Jennifer.
Yeah, I'll follow up
Please
with
reach
you.
out to Jennifer.
And because as you said, Pam, the Pacific Grove group has gotten recognized and
Yes.
is moving forward. So I think there is a way to incorporate the HOA and the condos in this program.
Thank you.
I see Robert.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jennifer, is there
Hi.
any way you can send me that application from you? And I can send that out to the Boots Road Homeowners Associations, because there's about, we got Bay Ridge, Halcyon Heights, Hidden Hills. We got a number of residents that aren't in a homeowners association, Mason Hills West, and then we do have condominiums. But if you can send it in yours, because Neil Glover and I have a hard time getting people to fill it out. They
I see.
receive it to it and they don't fill it out. If you can send it under your name and title, I'll send that to Thielander Management, and he'll send it out to everybody on Boots Road, and maybe we'll get a better response.
For the risk assessment, or is there anything?
Oh, the entire application that
Oh, I see.
we turn into our homeowners association, or mine goes to my insurance agent and Neil and that, but we just don't get much of a response from other people in the neighborhood.
I see. Yeah, I could follow up with you and see how, we might get more engagement on that.
Yeah,
So I
please,
can-
appreciate
yeah,
it.
sure.
Yeah, and for those of you with follow-up questions for Jennifer, could you please drop your email in the chat so we're sure not to miss you after the meeting?
And I'll make a note where we can follow up.
Excuse me.
Are there any more questions or anything else I could follow up on risk assessments too? Some of this information might have gotten through pretty quickly. Has anyone done a risk assessment before? And how did that process go? See, some people have. So now I think we've talked about just an introduction to the program, action plans, and risk assessments. Kind of, if I guess you see a show of hands, which one did you find more challenging to do or kind of get a hold of in this process? The action plan or the risk assessment, just to see what might cause more trouble for future communities trying to get involved.
Jennifer, I don't think there's a issue with, our problem is getting people involved.
Oh, I see.
Going out that the biggest problem we have is getting people involved. That's
Mhm.
the whole thing.
Yeah. I think coming up, if we could do like engagement workshop. I know we did that earlier, I think this year, maybe doing another revisiting of what has worked for other people. I know kind of connecting with the other communities, so just encouraging it as a region has helped before. So maybe seeing what other ideas people have on that could be another session.
So Jennifer, there are also a few comments and questions in the chat,
Yeah, let's chat.
which we might just take a look at and see if everybody,
Yeah,
those who can't see the chat, if they have any follow-ups on this.
I saw Bob Vitale put the UP help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are having their wrap next Tuesday. And though, yeah, the CSA insurance group will be presenting on their wildfire mitigation initiative. So I'm really interested to see what they're going to talk about. Fire Safe Marin has a lot of activities. I think their Fire Safe Council is in a coalition, I believe, or a collaborative effort with their fire agencies or their fire authorities. So they have a lot of initiatives up there. I think they have their Ember Stomp right now. But more specifically, the AAA group is who I'm interested in hearing speak. I'm not sure if they record those. I think they do, but I'm not sure if they post them on their YouTube. I know they've had other, I believe during or post the LA fires earlier this year, they had Department of Insurance speak on their initiatives. So they have a great resource center here too for any insurance issues. Yeah, Bob is saying that getting people involved takes a lot of repeated efforts. I know in North County they're always getting the word out through just posting, holding events. Their ice hardware event was really good too for getting people involved. Okay, someone said we have the brochures ready to go and we are working on letters for residents to go with the brochures. Do we have access to templates? How to approach non-owner occupants? See addresses. Good question. Well, Fire Safe Council has like a newsletter template that you might want to use, or I'm not sure if we have a letter template, but we have a why go fire or why Firewise. It's about 10 reasons on why to be Firewise that could be attached to brochures and sent out. I'm not
So,
sure if you'll be using the like mailer. I think the county has a program that you could buy mailers, but if you're not, I'm not sure if anyone else has tried sending them out to their communities. Yes, previous Firewise 101 sessions are available on our YouTube page. We can go back. Let's see.
oh, and Jennifer, you might want to note that the next Fire Safe Board meeting is on August 28th. We've already passed the July one.
So this is our channel. We have I recently uploaded the newsletter template tutorial, but we have the first session. So that was an intro and FAQ, and also the site mapping. There's about 3 different options you could take for that. And I know renewals are coming up, so I wanted to note that in our post-meeting survey. There's a question asking if you would like to be involved in an in-person workshop for renewals, if that applies to you, if your community is looking to renew, if, meeting up at the local library for an hour or so to fill out that renewal application with others, sit down, do it, send it in, and just be done, if that would be helpful. We can set something up like that and get everyone involved. Bob says, mailers are not so great, very costly. Mostly they get round filed. It seems the most effective efforts have been personal contacts and in some cases social media like Nextdoor, Facebook. Yeah, I know in Aroma, Prunedale area, they use Nextdoor a lot. I'm signed up for Nextdoor and I get a lot of notifications of local events through that too. So
Jennifer,
yeah.
can I say something? This is Sylvia with Del Monte Park. I wrote Del Mote Park, Del Monte Park. So I agree, mailers are not great, but we have the brochures that we want to drop off. But then we realize, sure, we have every property, as far as we can tell, is occupied, but we have a lot of renters in our area. So do we then mail? I mean, what other options do you have for out of town owners?
You mean seasonal owners or people who?
No, just people non-owner occupied homes.
I may have a solution or at least a suggestion.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Sylvia. That's a difficulty for a lot of people, and some areas of Monterey County are highly, yeah, a lot of them are rented part-time or full-time. So number one, I would still leave a notice at the renters if there is a renter there. And if it is a long-term renter, they may pass it along directly to the owner. But the Fire Safe Council does have access to all of the APN numbers and owners of residents throughout Monterey County. However, we don't know which one of those is actually an in-person resident or a non-living there resident. So if there are, if you have questions, please get in touch with us and we can cross-reference that against our list. And see, and then possibly make sure that the owners, the registered owners, would get a notice. We would have to do a hard mailing.
Oh,
give you
perfect.
the information to do a hard mailing, but we could ferret out that. That would be a major project for us if there were a lot of them, but we certainly can try and help you with that.
We contacted the title company, so I think we can figure that out. But then it would be great if you could step in and help with approaching. So you don't have to do the puzzle. I think we can figure out the puzzle, who is actually living there and who is not.
I think you just have to give me a street address, and then I
Yes.
believe I believe the county lists are by mailing address, but they do cross-reference the street address. So if you can give me a street address, we may be able to find those for you.
Well, we figure we have about 250, 300 because we want to tackle the whole 1300 block in our neighborhood in Del Monte Park. So that's like 6 or 7 streets.
Wow, it's a lot. Okay.
I know, we're starting to realize that. But we're trying to get somebody from every block or 2 people from every block, and then we can work together with that. But thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
See, Bob Vitale has his hand up too. Oh yeah, I see his comment. For long-term rentals, talk to the tenants. It is their home. Typically don't want to be displaced by a wildfire. Yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to mention that where I am in our community, we have some renters, and these are large properties, and so trying to keep them clear is tricky because who's responsible for that? Is it the owner or is it the tenant? And I like to kind of like point out to the tenant that, hey, you live here. if this place catches on fire, your stuff is gone. So, it's really, kind of incumbent upon you to want to do something here. Because, the landlord, they may have it, they don't care, maybe they don't care if the place burns down, they got insurance and stuff like that. But you do, because it's your home.
But the renters are afraid that the homeowners will raise the rent if they need to do work to address these things, and especially where you are.
Well, if your water heater went out, you would tell the owner, and the owner would replace the water heater, right? And if the roof is leaking, you would tell the owner, and the owner would have to replace the roof. The roof, I mean, yeah, that always kind of can play into things, but at the same time, the state of California does have a cap on how much rent can be increased. I know this firsthand. I own rental property, and I know that when my renters ask me to do something, if they're paying the rent, I want to do these things to try to keep them. I don't want a vacancy. I don't want them to move out, because that ends up costing me a lot more when somebody moves out, because I have loss of rent, and then I have to go in and clean up the place and do a lot of repairs and all that kind of stuff that you don't. So landlords really don't want turnover. They want to keep good tenants that are paying the rent, that are not causing problems, and especially tenants who actually point things out and are looking at this from the standpoint of this. Is another point, is that I tell renters, look, you're watching out for this person's investment. This is their investment. If it burns up in a fire and they're underinsured, guess what? They've lost a lot of money, right? So if it takes just a little bit of money to kind of clean up around the house and put in some measures that home harden the place, that landlord may look at that tenant and go, "Hey, this is a good tenant. I'm not going to raise the rent because I want to keep them." Now, the issue of short-term rentals is a different animal altogether, because a lot of times those people, you don't know where they are, you know. But going back to long-term rentals, if they're owned by a corporation, that becomes a little bit more tricky, I guess. But generally speaking, they're all a corporation that's looking at long-term rentals. They operate under a different set of guidelines that's really hard to understand, except that they're trying to make money. So there, but overall, the state of California does have limits on how much you can raise the rent in a 2-year time span. So there is that. So
Yeah. Thanks, Bob. Yeah, those are good points. I think um short-term rentals, I'm not too sure of. I'm not sure which communities have dealt with that and reaching out to those people who have the short-term rentals. Yeah, if anyone has information on that.
And then Jennifer, just quickly while
Yeah.
you're waiting for another question, I did capture the chat for you, so I will send you the Word document after the meeting.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
So,
I
that was all of the chat. If anyone has any more questions, this is the time to do so as well. But I would also think I took note of following up with 3 people. So, Robert Sito from Boots Road, I'll follow up with you. Sylvia with the mailer information, and Mary Alice for the condos. So you'll be seeing an email from me very soon on those points.
Jennifer, you should have my phone number. You can just call me.
Oh, sure. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining today. I'll stop the recording. Again, you'll probably see that post-meeting survey come up. And if you could answer it, it's very appreciated, but it's just optional. So I'll stop the share here and end the recording as well.